Welcome to another episode of the House Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwarz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television.
Welcome into the 22nd episode. Yeah,
Field door, baby.
22nd episode of the House Huddle Podcast. As always, I'm Rob Schwarz, and brought with me, as always, is my co-host Justin Onayemi.
Yep, good to be here. 22 episodes, man. It's flying.
Yeah, we actually haven't seen each other.
That's true.
Since the Bears game, and barely have talked since the Bears game. So this will be interesting
because we both went into a cave after the game, and I don't know. It was a bummer. We're filming this Wednesday night. I think that's important to tell the listeners.
It is. I mean, my temperament has come down a little bit.
That's right. So, sometimes we come at you all with our fresh take out minutes, I would say, after the game.
Yes.
And sometimes we let it stew a little bit and simmer. So this one's a later reaction, and I think our conversation will be indicative of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still pissed.
Oh, yeah. Well, same.
So we did text each other a little bit while it was happening, but like this loss is not the same feeling as it was when they lost to Dallas, and it wasn't the same loss or the way it felt when they lost to the Miami Dolphins. Like those two losses, like I was still positive. Even a 20-point loss, like I was super excited. And there's positives still to take here, but you cannot lose to the Detroit Lions.
So, I mean, comparing the loss to the Lions to the loss to the Cowboys and then to the Dolphins, if you go by Vegas odds, I mean, in the other two games, you're the underdog.
Right.
And in this game, you're favored to win. Now, I know that's not everything, but you just felt like that's a winnable game. It was right there for the taking, and you don't finish the deal. Now, we then look at the long-term ramifications, draft pick and all that. Maybe it ends up being a blessing.
Right.
But it doesn't feel that way when you lose to a team that you're better than. And maybe you're not better than. That's what it then makes you wonder.
I mean, okay. There are things that obviously took place in this game, moments that gave the Lions an opportunity to win this game that they shouldn't have. I mean, the extra point miss obviously is the clear-cut one. Right?
I think there's an even clearer one. We'll talk about it.
We will. I have a feeling I think it's the same play that you're thinking of, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
But, like, obviously from a points standpoint, had Cairo Santos made that extra point, at worst they're going to overtime. Right?
Whether you force the Lions to get gutsy and go for two or something.
Yeah, sure. And then if they miss, like,
right,
Dan Campbell's laughed even more. But right now, I mean, Chicago hasn't beat an NFC North team at all this year.
Well, I was going to say, from the Lions' perspective, they're coming off a win against Green Bay.
Yes.
Then they come to Chicago. Dan Campbell, I mean, this is his second season, so he's 1.5 seasons as a coach, had not won a road game in his career.
Insane.
Then you come to Chicago and you win. I mean, they have to feel good. But no, I mean, it was very disheartening. And it does, like, sting until I think, well, the players that are going to be on this team when I think they are competitive and ready to play, you still see some good things from some of those guys.
So, pregame.
That's the thing we'll talk about a little later.
I was going to say, do you want to just do it now? Like,
okay.
I mean, I think it was a good segue.
Okay.
Right? So, like, pregame, you had mentioned that you were looking into the roster and trying to figure out who's going to be here next
Exactly. Year. So what I was doing was I just kind of looked at the 53-man. And again, we're doing this Wednesday night, and I think even as I was looking at it, it might have been changing. They've done a few signings here and there.
Yeah,
and
they ordered some tacos on a Wednesday.
Taco Charlton. So just kind of looking at the 53-man and how many of these players are going to be on next year's team? Not even talking 2-3 years, but just next year's team. And obviously Fields is locked in. So I kind of thought of it as 52 cards in a deck.
Yeah.
And trying to think of how many players. Now, I went through and was pretty generous. I don't know if you want me to say my number.
Do you want to say your number, or should we just quickly go through
We could try.
guys like
Okay.
we know are going to be here?
All right.
I think that's going to be easier
There we
than
go.
picking guys that we
Sounds
aren't
good.
sure about. Okay.
So, but like I said, I was trying to be generous. So you and I have talked many times that we don't necessarily think Montgomery is going to get re-signed.
Correct. I'm not going to count him.
See, but I think I might have, just because the way his season's playing out, I'm now wondering, does he have a lot of suitors?
Sure.
Would he want to just get in while the getting is good for the Bears and play the role that could lead this team somewhere? That's kind of a different episode.
I mean,
think.
he's a leader.
Yeah.
And he's made it clear that he likes being
So at the right price, I could see him being kept. And so even with putting him on there, I didn't get to a very high number. But let's say Herbert. Or, well, how do you want to do this?
Let's just do quarterback.
Okay.
Justin Fields is the only one.
Fields is the only one. Right.
Okay. So there's one.
Okay.
All right. Running back. Montgomery we'll put in there.
You know what? Now I'm thinking I might not have. It depends. I did it kind of the exercise twice.
We'll just do it.
Okay.
Montgomery's
Herbert
in there.
for sure, I would
and
say.
Herbert's in there for sure. Tristan Ebner's going to be in there for sure because they were just drafted.
Right.
So there's 3.
Okay.
Now we're at 4.
4 total.
Okay, let's go to
Receiver.
wide receiver. You got Darnell Mooney.
You got Mooney. You got Claypool.
So there's 6.
And then
You're probably going to keep. I was going to say, well, you're going to keep Valus.
So that's 3. So we're at 7.
You're probably going to keep N'Keal Harry. You traded for him.
Okay. I didn't know his contract status.
So that's
I did this whole thing without totally knowing contract status.
I think he still has a year left.
Because I know Pettis, for instance, is on an expiring deal, as is Pringle.
Yes, they were signed to 1-year deals.
ESB? Even if not,
he might be on a 2.
Okay, but I didn't keep him.
I can't remember if he's a 1 or a 2.
So let's
But I
say
don't
receiver.
think
You got Mooney, Claypool, Valus,
Yes.
and now you're saying Harry. I didn't count him. So 4, that brings us to a total of 8.
8. Now you go to tight end.
Tight end,
Cole
Kmet.
10.
Let's say Griffin. Or, he's not.
I think he's replaceable.
We missed a halfback. A fullback.
Oh, the fullback.
Blasting game.
Yeah. Okay, he'll be
be back.
Okay,
So 9, without counting tight end yet.
not counting tight end, we're at 9.
Komet is 10.
Komet is 10.
And let's even just leave it there for tight end.
Yeah, I think Griffin's replaceable.
Okay, so you're at 10. O-line.
Braxton,
Oh,
okay,
boy.
let's go left to right. Braxton Jones for sure.
You're keeping him due to his draft status and contract.
So that's
Tevin Jenkins.
11.
Yep, we're at 11.
12 with
12
Jenkins.
for Jenkins.
Borum.
Borum's 13.
Lucas Patrick is on a 2-year deal.
Forgot about him because he was on IR.
Yeah, so he'll be here.
So that's 14.
I don't keep Cody Whitehair.
I think everyone else is gone.
Yeah, he's making $14 million. He's the second highest paid player on the team next year behind Eddie Jackson.
He's gone.
I think he's replaceable in free agency. You can find a guy that plays almost as good, if not as good, for probably half the price.
Right. Exactly. Value cut, I would say.
Yeah, so we're still at 14.
14. Now, a guy like Carter.
Jatir Carter.
Yeah.
They drafted him, so he'll be here.
Okay.
So 15. Now, you might not have thought about him either, but he's also on IR, is Doug Kramer.
I was just now thinking of him.
Yeah, so that's 16.
Okay, so let's also remember now we're not talking necessarily about a 53 when we start to include IR.
Correct.
So, okay.
Yes.
So what are we at? 16?
Yes.
And let's stop there for the line. We might be missing 1 or 2 if you want to just hold 2 spots or something.
Yeah, because you're not keeping Riley Reif. You're not keeping
Schofield, no.
I hope they don't keep Sam Mustipher.
You've been asking for that even within season, likely.
He's been better
I know.
lately, but it's still not good.
So what are we at, 17?
17 for the whole entire offense. Right?
Specialists. Let's get specialists out of the way real quick.
Okay, so there's 3.
So 3. We're keeping all of them, even though Santos is...
okay, so Santos missed an extra point, but I was thinking he's missed more.
Not missed.
And I looked, he hasn't missed a single field goal this year.
No.
He's hit a few at 50-yard plus mark.
He's staying.
And the first game was in a monsoon, and he missed 2 extra points in that game.
So his missed extra point loomed large in this Detroit game, but does anyone not remember he also kicked the ball out of bounds on a kickoff?
That was worse.
That's worse.
Way worse. Yes, you're giving up a point.
He almost did it twice, by the way. But anyway, so he's back. Gill is back, and Scales is your long snapper. So now we're at a clean 20, headed towards the defense.
All right. It's actually a little bit more than I was thinking.
That's what I'm saying. The number's higher than you think, but also think about if you only get to 40, you're bringing in 20 fresh bodies.
Yes.
And hopefully some of these are high-level draft picks or high-level free agents.
And some of these guys could easily be pushed to the practice squad.
Right. So, okay. So we're at clean 20. Now we're going to the defense.
All right.
Which, should we start in the back and work our way in?
Yeah, because that'll be easier.
Yeah.
Okay, so safety, you're
Brisker
and Eddie
Jackson.
maybe DHC comes back. He's not a 1 year.
I was thinking Elijah Hicks.
Or Elijah Hicks. One of them.
Okay, one of the two.
But
so now we're at 23.
I was going to say, let's just go 2 because they're not guaranteed.
Okay, so the 2 safeties that are starters are coming back.
Yes. Because I don't think Crookshank, he's not done enough.
No. So corners, obviously Jaylon Johnson.
Yes.
Obviously, Vildor, I don't know his contract, but I think he's earned a spot.
I think he was drafted in 18. 19.
Let's keep him because this is a Vildor episode.
Okay. Yeah, well, there we go.
All right. So we're at...
And he's had an up and down year.
I mean,
he
a lot
started
of ups,
off
though.
down, and he worked his way up, and he had a lot of ups. And then he had another bad game, and he got hurt in that game.
So other corners. I mean...
So you got the 3.
You're not very deep.
You got the 3 corners, right?
I
Jalen
didn't
Johnson,
count Gordon.
Kyler Gordon,
Yes.
Kendall Vildor.
Okay.
And you got the 2 safeties. We're at 5. No one else. I mean, Lamar Jackson.
No. Just fine guys.
Yeah, none of those guys stand out to me.
Fine guys. And remember, we started in the back because we said that'd be easier, and it's kind of going to get worse as you move forward, I think.
So at linebacker, I think Sanborn might be the only one that is a guarantee.
He's a guarantee.
Like,
everyone else,
they're replaceable.
they're replaceable. I mean, Morrow, was he a 2-year deal?
Even if he was.
Oh, cut him and get someone better, younger.
No, he's been rough.
Yeah. All right, let's go conservative then, and say Sanborn's your only linebacker you're bringing back.
So we're at 6.
You have to recreate a whole unit of your defense.
Yes.
But you have the money and you have the picks, so go ahead and do it. But we're only keeping 6 on the defense so far.
Yes.
Going to the D-line, which has been one of the weakest parts of the team. Although, let's say, I do like a lot of the things we've seen out of Justin Jones. That was a 3-year deal, I believe.
Yeah. I actually had him on my possibilities to be cut list because he is making a decent amount of money.
Money's not their issue.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. Money's not their issue. If they can find a true 3 technique and move him to the nose,
there you go.
I think that's going to be the best.
He's performed. He made my keep list.
And even if he's the backup.
Right. Who am I thinking of? Blackstone?
Oh, Angelo Blackson. Gone. Been awful.
Okay.
He was on my constantly causes problems isn't good enough list this week.
He shows flashes here and there. But, okay, gone.
Armand Watts, gone. He's been better to me, in my opinion, than Blackstone.
Some of these guys are going to be kept just because you have to fill this roster out.
Sure.
But the point is being made, correct?
Yes.
That this whole team is going to be made over.
I'm personally only going to keep Justin Jones out of the defensive tackles.
Okay,
yes.
Now go to the ends.
Dominique Robinson,
for sure. Keep Gibson. I really like. Mohammed was your big signing. I don't remember what kind of deal. He's not performed.
No, he's got to go.
He's gone. So 2 ends. Is that it?
I'm trying to think of who else they have.
All right. So I hope we're not losing our listeners here because we're kind of trying to pick up names, but you're looking at maybe 30 guys.
Yeah, 30.
Maybe a little more than 30, which means you're filling out
30,
20 to 30 more guys.
Yes, and if you think about it, they go to 90.
Right. Oh yeah.
To start the year.
Well, yeah. So,
right?
But I'm talking next season, week 1.
Yes.
Type of guys. So this roster is going to look very different.
Very different.
And the key is that you've figured out your quarterback. And we in Chicago don't know what that's like. Coming into the season, and I think of it more from like a fantasy perspective, but like, how do you think experts where would they have said Fields is a top blank quarterback coming into the season?
Coming into the season?
Yeah.
I mean,
32 teams.
When I think fantasy, right?
Well, I threw you off by saying fantasy.
No, but that is how I think of it, though.
True.
Because typically,
it correlates.
Better quarterbacks are usually up there. I mean, you do have the,
Daniel Jones.
I wasn't even who's the guy that was in Jacksonville that's career went Blake Bortles, right? Like where you're just getting the garbage time stuff. I mean, it works. I think he was a top 10 quarterback one year.
Okay,
but knowing that I've seen the stuff prior to how the season started, Justin Fields was in the bottom 5.
People had him 25th, 24th
at best.
Okay, so that's coming into this season. People were saying you have a top 24 quarterback. In which case, you're not even saying top at that point.
Exactly.
Now, headed into next season, how do you think the conversation is about where he ranks?
He's going to be top 12 guaranteed.
I almost said top 10.
I personally would put him in the top 8.
Okay. So that changes everything about your team. And now you're filling in all those spots we just said to fill in. You're filling that in with over $100 million in cap. You're filling in with draft picks that just got a little bit better by losing to the stupid Lions.
And if they get a top-end wide receiver prospect, top 5.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I'm putting him with...
Even though with as many holes as we just said, it could be tough to see them take a receiver there, knowing there's other things that they need as well.
The only way it doesn't happen is if he gets hurt, because I don't see how you stop his running game. Teams have tried for the last 2 weeks. You heard Mike McDaniel say, just stop.
Please.
Just stop. Like, and I know it was a joke, but like, in a way, he wasn't joking. He wished that he would stop running.
And you and I both consistently, I kind of want to play back the tapes here. Yeah. Luckily, we're doing a podcast. We're not just fans talking. But we consistently have said he can throw the ball.
Yes.
And it will come. It will be developed.
And we're seeing it, though. Even on these little... So, I already graded him.
Okay.
I'm not going to give out the grade because I'm still going to do my Fields Focus episode.
All right.
But I've already graded him.
Okay.
And I will tell you he did not hit that elite status again that he hit last week.
Well, considering he only hit it by one right point on the cusp, but
there were more running plays that put him ahead or to get to that point last week than there were against the Lions. I had more passing plays that got him closer to that mark in my grading than running plays this week.
So in your grading, I know you have double negatives, you have negatives, yes. You have neutral, you have positive, you have double positive.
Correct.
This is a dumb question, but like, are all positives equal? Are all double positives equal? Because that double negative pick 6, I don't know if you can have an elite game and throw that pass.
Correct. So
he did come right back and like negate it.
It did. It negated it. It did. He ran a 67-yard touchdown.
Like basically on the next play.
It was 3 plays later.
3 plays later.
It was, 4 if you count the kickoff.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it was, unfortunately, that's kind of how it works though, because you grade him on an each play basis, right? So I look at what he does on each play. I look at, is he getting his reads correctly? Or did he miss something that should have been?
Right.
Or does he throw a perfect ball and the receiver drops it? Like, that's not on Justin Fields. Yeah. Like, he made a great read. He made a great throw. He gets the positive or maybe a double positive, depending on what happened. And one of the things that could happen is maybe he throws a great throw, hits the guy in the hands, bounces off, it's an interception. Right. Like, that's also not on him from a grading standpoint. Now, if he threw it...
But that pick 6...
No, he sailed it.
Right.
Like, it wasn't even a good throw. Like, no, it was
to the
bad.
point where I didn't know a throwaway wouldn't have been a bad play there. And that's how bad he sailed it, that it almost looked like I thought he was trying to throw it away.
I almost wonder if he was, because he was kind of about to get hit at that point, and he kind of loses his angle, his feet at the end there. I don't know if he just didn't have enough oomph to get it out.
Okay.
But either way, like, you just can't.
Right.
You can't. And we say don't take sacks and like things like that. And honestly, like, I can't recall. I don't think there was anyone in the area that he could have just dumped it to into the dirt to get, not get a intentional grounding penalty,
which still would have been a better outcome.
Correct. Much better.
Yeah, I would be curious, and I don't want you to give away everything because you're going to do your Fields focused.
Yes.
But just from your sense of how he played, are we seeing him get rid of the ball on time? I would say down that critical drive at the end, I was wondering, like, Pocket was looking clean. They must have been dropping a lot of guys in the coverage.
So he was trying to do too much.
Okay.
But there wasn't anyone really open except for, and I actually gave him a negative grade on it. I think it was the third down play on that.
Well, I have a theory on that one as well, and it goes against what the broadcast was saying. I apologize because I didn't rewatch, and so now I'm going off of 3 days memory.
Okay.
But I thought they did a bad job of time management on that drive.
Yeah, it wasn't
that led to maybe a bad play.
Now, I did watch that part of the game, but then when I watched the S1E22 and I really focused on it, unfortunately, they don't give you how much time, how much down and distance. I kind of have to pay attention. Okay, is this first down? Is this second down? But during that drive, they ran almost 2 identical plays the sack that he got sacked by Hutchinson. That was a second down play. Montgomery was open, like straight ahead of him, that he could have dumped it off.
Right.
And it wouldn't have gotten a first down.
No.
But it would have gotten 5-6 yards.
Instead, you go negative yardage.
Now you went negative. The very next play, he's in the exact same spot, and he dumped it off to him, and he gets 6, 7, 8 yards. Like,
but you needed 15 or 16.
It set up a shorter fourth, so I understood doing it. But yes, had he hit it the first time, instead of holding it, he does tend to still hold the ball a little too long occasionally.
Yes, not as often.
But it is becoming drastically better. And part of that is he's trusting his line a little bit. You're seeing him stand in the pocket. I've watched him go from his first read to his third read and hit the third read.
It's funny you say he's trusting his line, and Jenkins didn't play.
So
I didn't grade the whole line or anything like that.
By the way, Riley Reef fell on his ass during that Hutchinson sack on that last. Yeah, it wasn't good.
So I thought there were many clean pockets. There were many times where he had tons of time to throw. And again, we're talking about a team where we're only projecting they're bringing back not even a handful of these guys to next year's team. But I wonder, is it they're blocking, or is it now the fear he has put in some of the rushers? You see, you have to be very disciplined now against him in terms of containing his run, that you can't just full blow come at him on your pass rush.
And that's probably why we saw it more at the end, because they knew that, okay, we're just going to pin
our
ears back. We're just going to go.
And he has to make the proper adjustment, which is hitting that shorter hit to Montgomery on second down.
Correct.
So what I was saying, and I would have to go back to really analyze it, but I know what I was saying in the moment was call a timeout there and gather yourself and make the right call, have the right everything set up. Because you know you're in a 4-down situation, and knowing that it was third in such a long amount, I was in my head thinking, you either got to get a good, decent chunk of this so you can have a convertible 4th down, or you're in a whole lot of trouble. And they rushed, and they ended up 4th and 8, I want to say.
Sounds about right.
And looked scattered.
Yeah.
And it obviously ended the way it did.
He also, on that play, and this goes back to what he was struggling with earlier in the year, is these anticipatory throws, like throwing your guy open. There was, on that same play, I'm blanking on who the receiver was. It might have even been Cole Kmet. No, I think it might have been Pettis. Was on like a drag, like a corner route type situation to the right. And he wasn't looking for the ball yet, but there was no one else there. It was zone. Like, had he just thrown it, I mean, it might not have gone for it. It might not have caught it, because he might not have caught him. Like, he had to throw it early.
Ever turned around.
Right. But at least it was a better chance than taking the sack again.
I'm wondering, was the first play of that drive a bad throw to Claypool? Or is that a different drive?
I don't recall.
Okay. There was one there where...
But speaking of Claypool...
Yeah, let's talk
about it. They need
to
get him involved more. Like, his snap count... And I understand he's not only... Like, he had more of an impact the first game that he came in than he did this game.
But I feel like they must have been very purposeful in, here's what you're going to run. We're going to get you the ball in that first game. Because I don't even think he had a full week of practice.
He didn't. Well,
it might have been exactly a week or something.
Yeah,
but yeah, he was pretty much non-existent in this game. And so there's so many different angles you could take as a Bears fan now, especially seeing the team at 3-7. You want to see what he can connect with Claypool for the future, because you know he's part of the future. But if you're not using him and you're not even having Velus Jones active, that's kind of concerning to me.
Yeah, you're playing the guys that are not here that are maybe here to win now, but not here for the future. And it was actually asked in his press conference today, and Eberflus made a comment that said, no, we're not going to play those guys just to play those guys. Like, we're going to put the players in position that we think are going to help us win this game. And his comments about Pringle was for the running blocking. So
I wonder, so they're saying that, but do they believe that?
I don't know. It could just be coach speak.
And the reason I ask is because there are a lot of things you could take away from the way the Bears have played so far this season that are positives that I know they must be harping on, especially as a brand new regime. But then for the results to be what the results are, that does call into question development versus winning.
Yeah.
And you're losing with some of the guys you're not even going to be trying to develop. So I kind of want to shift and talk about the defense, but I think
This is a good time for a break.
yeah, we could take a break then and come back on that.
Sounds good to me.
So, all right.
Enjoy these ads.
All right. We'll come back after this. All right. We are back in the Kindleville Door episode 22 of the Hallis Huddle. I'm Justin Onayemi here with Rob Schwarz. Before we kind of break down some other things from this recent loss to the Detroit Lions, we have a giveaway that we'd want to kind of finish up, Rob. So why don't you take us through this giveaway, maybe preview the next one we're planning, and we'll be selecting our winner.
All right. So we decided to throw out something on Twitter and give our followers or potential new followers an opportunity to give us a listen. And in order to incentivize them with that, we decided to just give them a little gift. And this gift is a 11 by 14, I think. It's larger than like just the 8 by 10.
Right.
Print of the first game of the season when
Splish and Splash.
Splish and Splash. Good. That's probably what
slide.
Slip and slide. There we go. Either one works. But I had mentioned like maybe this is the beginning of Justin Fields, rise to being a star, and he's in the photo. It's not the one where you just see him, but like you see other teammates. He's in it, and so we were gonna just send that to somebody for free. So in order to do that, you had to follow my account, Justin's account, and the Hallis Huddle account on Twitter, and just retweet it. I did ask people to tag a Bears fan. By the way, we have a new setup here. And
we're in a new studio.
The microphone arm is a little distracting.
I can't see you very well. I'm too short. That's what it is, man. I'm trying to sit with a little better posture.
I'm sure you can't see me either. So, but anyway, so I took all the names of the people who followed the rules correctly, and we're going to put the names in. And
we didn't get to our retweet total.
No,
we were a bit ambitious.
Yes, I wanted 100. And we got to almost 40, a little over 40.
And we're still going to do the giveaway. We're not going to hold out any longer. But our next giveaway is going to be something a little nicer. So we really should maybe hold to our number. Maybe lower the number a little, but still expect it to get hit.
Yeah, maybe we'll go 75.
All right. Well, we'll get there when we do. Let's not announce that yet.
No, but it's going to be a nice gift.
Yeah.
And I think our plan is to have one more after that. And then that one's going to be even better. So
okay,
all right.
So let's select our winner for our first giveaway.
Like I said, I have it in a little word spinner thing, like top of
official
a Wheel of Fortune thing.
We don't have any accounting firm that's like watching over this, but it's official. I can see the wheel. So why don't you give it a spin?
All right, give it a spin.
I feel like we're on Wheel of Fortune here.
Yeah.
No, you don't want to get a bankrupt.
Tick 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 tick. Tick.
All right, who is that?
And Leo V101 is the at Leo V101. Let me just see if I can find them real quick. Da-da-da-da.
Well, and then I guess after the show you can like make an official announcement.
Yeah, I will put it out there and then I'll DM that person and get their information on where to send it. But this guy's name apparently is Albert White Jr.
All right, congrats.
Congratulations, and I like the fact that you're a junior. I can relate to that. So.
That's right. Oh man, I forgot. They lost on your birthday.
I know. I
didn't want to get explicit, but that got me, man. That hit me right there.
I don't want to bring that part up.
Yeah, they owed you a birthday gift better than that. So hopefully the draft pick is better.
Yeah,
they get a really solid player that is a part of, a contender that's going to the playoff year after year after year, and you think, wow, had they not lost on my birthday, they would have missed out on this guy.
Yeah, they went from picking 16th to picking 6th because of this loss. So.
And you and I mean, we are like rose-colored glasses on this team. We still think there are winnable games out there. I don't know, man.
I don't think I'm getting my 7.
Really?
I think 5 to 6 is max.
Well, they better get the revenge game against the Lions.
And they better get Atlanta next
Atlanta this week coming up is a very, oh, man. Rob and I, we're not going to go into the FFL specifics.
That killed me too.
But Oh gosh, the Bears destroyed us this week.
Yes.
But I'm talking about Thursday night. I think was Atlanta, and so I was watching them very closely.
Yes.
And Mariota was horrible. Like, this is a very winnable game, but everyone who's watching the Bears as an opponent is also thinking the same thing.
And
although they might not be because of Fields.
And he still got us 23
Yeah,
fantasy
he did get us a bunch of points towards the end, but he threw that weird interception on his butt.
Yes.
But luckily they ruled it down.
He was incomplete.
I feel like Mark Sanchez should have been calling that game instead of the Bears, but the butt fumbler calls the butt interception.
Yeah.
So going back to the Bears, I wanted to talk about the defense. And I don't have a quote or anything like that, but I know in the post game, I think it was like that day or the next day, Eddie Jackson kind of talked about how he, and I think he was speaking on behalf of the defense as a whole unit, feel bad that like they're wasting these great moments that Fields is putting out there, and their own ineptitude is what's leading to some of these, losses. And I get that, because what I want to see is, like, as a fan, I know how excited I am by what I'm seeing out there from Fields and the offense. You would think that would give you that little bit extra to make the play. And when you know your coach is driving home the hits principle, and he's a defensive-minded coach, so I feel like he's even probably more on the minds of the defense from this hits principle. Turnovers should be happening. And I can't recall, even over these last 3 games, very many turnovers that they forced. They did force one this game that got called back, and it never should have. So we can talk about that play, but I think we also need to talk about that player. So why don't you tell us your initial thoughts on that?
I mean, it was a great, great play by future Hall of Famer linebacker.
We called it here first.
Jack Sanborn.
In the preseason, we called it here first. Best case, worst case.
I do have to say that I think Adam Hogue might have beat us to it.
Really?
That's only because he's a Wisconsin grad.
Okay.
So, yeah.
We called it here second?
Yeah, well, I'll take second. Yeah. and we didn't have a bias. Right?
You were talking last week when we see, I think it was Morrow, run into Brisker in coverage, and you're saying you don't have a coverage linebacker.
Yeah.
Talk about Sanborn on that play.
So, I don't know what Jared Goff didn't see. I mean, I do know what he didn't see. He didn't see Jack Sanborn.
That's right.
Sanborn read that perfectly.
Beautifully.
Jumped the route. He jumped the route. Great pick. We saw it in preseason. He did it.
Yep.
And then they call Jalen Johnson for hands to the chest, because that's what it was. Hands to the chest.
Oh, man.
And they called hands to the face.
So they called hands to the face. That was the second time they called it on him in 2 plays or in 3 plays. It was pretty close together. And the way the guy went down, like, you would have thought he gouged his eyeballs out. But then they showed the replay, and it wasn't even to the face.
No.
But the first thing I thought, I don't know why, was judo chop. Because that guy just dropped, man. I mean, I feel bad because I guess he actually was injured on that play. I think it was a knee injury or something.
Oh.
So that's why he fell so dramatically, which I think is what made the ref or official throw the flag.
Reacted to.
But you can't.
No.
And the Bears are just not a good enough team to overcome these things.
Right.
And so I hope, again, it's hard, but like in the moment you're saying these things about this team, and I already, a year from now, don't want to be saying any of these things. I want them to have a roster and a team that even when a bad call comes, they overcome it.
Well, and the problem is like we're not seeing takeaways. That we thought we were going to see takeaways more this year.
Exactly.
Because of the hits principle.
Exactly.
With what Matt Eberflus preaches. And without those takeaways, I mean, those are also a deciding factor in the game. As soon as they got that play reversed, the very next play, they scored a touchdown on a run.
And I heard some people break down that play as well and say that Sanborn did everything right, but just isn't athletic enough to make the play. I don't know about that. I should watch it again because I thought his first couple steps were actually in the wrong direction, which is why DeAndre Swift was able to beat him to the pylon, basically. So I do want to look at that again and see, hey, did he slightly misread and then have to make up, and he doesn't have the speed to make up? Because we've seen him go to the sideline and make some plays in an impressive manner.
Yes.
His second sack was a one where he had to chase down Goff way to the edge.
Yeah.
And he took a great angle and made it there. So 2 sacks, 12 tackles. How nice would it have been to also have that pick, which pretty much I think would have sealed the game.
Yeah, I don't see how they. I mean,
so,
yeah, it's frustrating, and that wasn't the only issue that I had with the refs. Can we just segue into that?
Okay, let's go on.
Really quick.
I don't love it, but go ahead.
I don't like to rant about it, but we're going to another week, and towards the end of the game, I'm seeing multiple things happen. The pass to David Montgomery, beautiful pass by Justin Fields. He had to lay out a little bit, but he's being grabbed. Whether you're going to call pass interference or at least holding, I mean, he's being grabbed. Like, had a problem with it.
Okay.
The very last play of the game, I actually called it out on Twitter today.
Yeah.
The ref is standing there with his hands up as he blows the play dead. And then the defensive lineman
Body slams him.
whips him like a rag doll to the ground.
So,
Like, how is that not roughing the passer?
it is. But you know what? It's so weird to me because I, in the moment, thought it was. But it would have also felt weird to get that call.
So
Because
someone else.
I don't want the refs to just be the reason the game goes a certain way.
Sure.
They seem to do it all the time.
Right. So why can't it be in our favor?
Yeah.
That's
good
what I'm
take.
saying.
What were you going to say? Someone else had a
Someone else had basically told me, they said the same thing. They're like, look, like, had it was another team, if it was a veteran, it would have been called. Like, if it was Tom Brady, if it was Aaron Rodgers, you would have seen it called. But also, maybe some less mobile quarterbacks maybe have seen it called because he was. I mean, that was like the third time he got hit on that play.
Right.
He was breaking tackles, but he was not making himself a runner. He was still looking downfield to make a pass.
Right.
And it just bothers me that he's taking a hit like that when he shouldn't be.
It's like they were 4th and 8. The sack was pretty far back.
Yeah.
Almost like 12 yards back.
Yeah.
So to know that you were 4th and 8, you went 12 yards backwards, to have been bailed out by the refs and get 15 yards and an automatic first down, it would have made the game a heck of a lot more exciting and possibly changed the outcome. But, like, they didn't deserve it, if that makes sense.
No, they didn't.
So, I don't know.
Although the offense kind of did.
Yeah, true. So, I don't like to go too far on the refs. I mean, there were a lot.
The other one, and I wanted to get your opinion on this because I have a hard time with it. The Cole Kmet knee hit, and then he falls down because it was kind of incidental contact, right?
Yeah.
So there, I feel like you can't call that, but I've seen it called so many times. I mean, it took him completely off his route.
Right.
They're going opposite directions, and it's a
was the
collision.
read.
It wasn't like
He was
they were
the read.
right, and it wasn't like, I mean, Justin Fields wanted the flag.
Right.
It wasn't like they were running together and their feet tangled. That's a little bit different.
Crisscrossing.
Right.
And you run into a guy.
I mean, it's like a bad pick in basketball.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been. I was more worried that was going to be a serious injury.
I was very worried it was going to be a serious injury.
So from what we hear, nothing?
No.
Okay.
From what I
Bad
understand,
bruise,
it's
I'm
fine.
guessing?
He didn't practice today, but
Okay.
I'm hoping it's just cautionary.
So, I mean, there were some, right off the bat, Braxton Jones had 2 holds, I want to say. And I don't know, is that him? Is that him not? Whatever?
One of the holds was such bullshit, in my opinion. Like, he took the guy to the ground, and you're allowed to do that. And he took him over the top of a pile, and you see him afterwards just smirking because he knows that it was a bullshit call. But, like, he goes over top of him. I mean, that's allowed. You're taught to do that if you can.
So, again, like, I mean, they don't.
You could call
overcome
holding
some
on almost
innocence.
any play.
Right. So, but with the defense, you know, Jack Sanborn showed out in a positive way. Justin Jones continues to show out in positive ways. Penetration into the backfield, multiple tackles for loss, I want to say. But outside of that, there just wasn't enough.
No, and to your point, though, the hits principle, the discipline has been lacking a little bit.
I think so.
I mean, we're seeing more of these penalties.
I mean, I feel when you talk about playing smart, you look at penalties. You just look at penalties.
Yeah, especially
like,
pre-snap.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is, like, I still don't think there have been too many of those.
Yeah, there have.
Because, like, a hold, it is in some ways a mental mistake, some more than others.
Yes.
And sometimes they're bad calls, let's be honest. But, like, Pre-game show, we were even talking. They, I think, know the official crew and knows what they tend to call, and like even that's being smart.
Yeah,
like knowing what you're going to be able to get away with. Certain crews maybe are more likely to throw the defensive pass interference and things like that. So I don't know. You just see the penalties. They had a lot of them. I guess I could look it up here. They had a lot, and those are just negative plays that are drive killers. Now, Fields and the offense sometimes are able to overcome these. That's the exciting part now.
He even overcame his own pick six.
Right. That was amazing. Because, like we said, it was a double negative. Probably could have been a triple negative.
It was Akuda that almost got him at the end.
He
was like, nope, see ya.
That breakaway speed is something, man. So I'm going to look real quick here. Penalties. Quite a few of them. And for a lot of yards, I want to say. So what do we got here? They had, oh boy. So, here's the thing.
Can I just guess?
Yeah, I want you to guess. But first, let me tell you what the Lions had.
I watched most of this game on the All-22, so it's not something that's...
Yeah, you weren't seeing like the...
Yeah, there's no calls, there's nothing.
Graphics and stuff. Okay. So, let me start by first saying the Lions had 2 penalties for 15 yards.
What?
So, you could look at that as they played a very disciplined game. They couldn't even catch up to Fields to do anything illegal to him. Okay, so they had 2 penalties for 15 yards. Go ahead and guess the Bears.
12?
Okay, too high of a number.
Is it 9?
But maybe
9 was my first guess.
Maybe they did get 12 and some were declined, to be honest.
9
so these are accepted. 9 penalties.
Okay. So
for 86 yards.
I was going to go higher. But
still, you can't, especially when you see the disparity.
Yeah.
That's how you lose games.
What did they call on Jalen Johnson? Was it a late hit when he punched the ball out on Goff? Or not Jalen Johnson?
No, that was on Kyler Gordon. They called it unnecessary roughness, like a late hit, basically.
Did he hit him or just the ball?
He punched the ball out and then
tried to
shoved him in his butt, shoved him on his upper back or lower back.
Out of bounds.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't a great call. But at the same time, once he was that close to the sideline, you have to know to.
Yeah.
Not make contact.
Yeah. So, again, I couldn't hear any of it. So
but not hits. Sure. That's not a hits thing to do.
Yeah. No.
Not a smart play.
No.
Whether they call it or not.
And he missed the sack.
Yeah. I think that's kind of why he did it. To show like he didn't give up on the play.
He didn't want to loaf.
Right. Maybe. So that's one glaring statistic. And then turnovers. Didn't force a single one. We talked about the one they should have had. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. But this is a team where you were hoping they'd be multiple times in a game.
Yeah, you need
forcing turnovers.
Your turnover differential needs to be positive. I don't know what they are for the year, but I feel like it's probably close to being even.
Equal, yeah, it's pretty even, I'd say.
That can't be if you want to be one of the top teams.
Well, in the hits principle, it talks about that. Like takeaways, we're both looking at not giving away and taking the ball away. So I think they've done a decent job of not giving it away. Yeah. Part of that's Fields. He hasn't. I don't know his picks on the year.
7.
It's more than I thought. But again, he's done well in these last 5 or 6
over
games.
the last 6.
Okay.
So,
not too much else there that we have to talk about. I saw something interesting that you tweeted today. We could talk about that.
All right. I don't know what.
So I believe
I tweet a lot.
Yeah, you do tweet a lot. Good for you, man. I believe it was a ranking of the top 100 players. Is that what it was?
A ranking.
Well, I saw that Fields was ranked 15th.
Oh,
and Aaron Rodgers was ranked 14th.
No,
but was it not?
It was ranking the quarterbacks.
Really?
Yes. So it was.
So that goes back to something we were talking about earlier.
32. Yes.
Ooh. So currently.
And
they have Fields 15.
Yeah. So they don't even have Stafford on the list right now because he's not playing currently.
So wait a minute. That means there are 14 people. We know we just gave away Rodgers is the 14th.
But it's
they have ranked better than him.
But it's like a power rankings that they've brought on throughout the whole entire year.
Because he started so dang low.
Exactly. So I think if I recall this particular one, by the way, it's fan-sided, so it's the parent company that I work for.
Okay.
I believe they had him ranked 29th or 30th to start the year.
So that goes with what we were saying. A lot of people had him as a bottom 5 quarterback.
Yeah. And if you think about it, he might have even dropped a couple spots after the first few weeks because he wasn't performing well.
Right. And do you think this is taking wins and losses into consideration or really just the stats you're putting up?
I'm sure that plays a part in it.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to go through and say who I think all 14 would be and argue who shouldn't be ahead of him.
So they are the NFL. Like they don't cover the specific team like I do. I'm not a part of it, so I don't know exactly what their system is for how they determine who's ranked.
This is a good part in the show, though, where not a retraction. Maybe it's a retraction. I need to go back on something from the previous episode. I missed something. So the point I was trying to make is that Justin Fields already started the season irrelevant, like top 30 quarterback out of 32 teams, but how maybe he already should be in the consideration for NFC Pro Bowl. And part of that is his play, and part of it is who else are you going to give it to?
You texted me this.
I forgot Geno Smith.
I did too.
And when I mentioned Daniel Jones, I should have mentioned Geno Smith because he's on a successful team and he's having a much better year. And his team is having good success.
Yeah, they were supposed to be a bottom feeding team.
So he might even be getting MVP votes.
Pete Carroll might be getting Coach of the Year votes.
Well, we saw them in the preseason. We trashed them.
Yeah,
they played like trash that day.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so Cousins, because of the success of the team and decent stats, I would say Geno Smith, and then Jalen Hurts. So that's probably your three. If you really want to look at combining success with play,
correct.
That's probably your three.
But there's still more games to play.
There's more games to be played.
And if people make the playoffs, they opt out. So it could be a write-in.
I mean, the year Trubisky got it.
Yeah.
I think by the end of this season, you'll be thinking of Fields' season way better than you thought of that.
Yeah, I think
now, granted, that team was having success. That was a 12-4 team, I think.
And I think he had 24 touchdowns and 10 interceptions on the year, if my memory serves me correctly. So
random.
Wasn't fantastic.
So random thing I'm going to ask you here. Bears have never had a quarterback throw for 30-plus touchdowns and have never had a quarterback throw for 4,000-plus yards. Now, Fields, we know, hasn't been racking up the yards. So I'm not even necessarily saying for this season, but do you think next season both of those things happen for Fields?
If he gets a top-end wide receiver.
So that you've said that twice now this episode. Yeah. So if they roll with Claypool, Mooney, Harry, and some additions, but not that top-end addition. Like the free agents, we keep saying they're not great.
I don't know if he'll hit 4,000. I don't think he will. I think because the game that he plays, I mean, even if you look back at Lamar Jackson's MVP season, he did not throw for over 250 yards a game. So, in fact, I want to say it was maybe like 215.
We both think he's a better thrower.
I do. And maybe with the 17-game schedule instead of the 16, I don't know if 250 gets you there.
True. That's true.
But I think because he is going to run, I counted, I had 10 design runs in this game. He had 9 the week before.
Does that number start to come down, though, over time? Well, and I actually want to know in the short term. So something
it has to.
Khalil Herbert is now on the IR.
For a dumb reason.
What is that reason?
You don't play your number 2 running back on kick
return and punt block coverage.
Yeah, like
that should all be Ebner.
It should all be Ebner or somebody else.
Anyone else. I mean, you called him. You said he's your number 2. Is he your de facto number 1?
He is. He's blowing Montgomery out of the water in statistics.
We have Montgomery in fantasy. Yes. And I think it's important to point out that, and I think this might be a reason, too, to keep a guy like this. I don't get a sense that he's got an inflated ego or anything like that. The team's success, the way they're all being utilized, I think he's fine with. But now that Herbert's gone, I could see Montgomery's carries go up and him be successful in that.
Yeah.
I think the last few games, he's been averaging like 11 carries a game. I think he easily can take 18 to 20.
Oh, easily.
Easily.
And I think he's going to be in that 16 to 18 range every week. Well, and I think it's because Justin Fields still takes away from
But that's what I'm hoping. I hope the loss of Herbert doesn't mean they try to run Fields even more.
Oh, I hope not, too, because you can't sustain that.
That's what
from a physicality standpoint.
So 2 games ago was the Miami game. Broke the all-time rushing record for a quarterback, but barely took any hits. Maybe took 2 hits the whole game.
Yeah.
This game, didn't he take a couple?
He took a lot.
Well, he gave one, too.
Yes, he gave a concussion.
Yeah, that's not good. But to me, if you're giving a concussion, you're also probably risking your own self.
You totally are. How many times do guys get hit And they both come off.
Right. So, I mean, we know you're talking about a guy that's 6'3", 230,
6'3",
and running at a good clip. So, he's built to sustain some of this.
I mean,
but you
think
don't want
about
to
it.
test
He's
that
going
out.
20 miles an hour in some of these runs. Like, even on runs he's probably in that 15, 17 range. Like, that's getting hit by a car in a school zone.
Right. Phew. So, I mean, we know he's a tough, and we've seen the toughness too. Yeah. But that's not something we want to see tested time and time again in a throwaway season.
Correct.
And that's what I think, ultimately, if we kind of want to wrap this episode up pretty soon, that's something we have to think about is this is a rebuild.
Yes.
And, whether you're Cubs fan, Sox fan, both fan bases in baseball have seen what that can look like. And you have to know and think of it that way to then even be able to analyze what you're watching. Yeah. And so that's why ultimately they lose a game they shouldn't have lost to a bad team. But then I step back and go, this is the beginning of a rebuild. And I think it's going to be a fast rebuild.
Yeah. Micro, looking at it from a micro perspective, it's very frustrating and I'm very pissed off.
And
but when you
screwed us in UFFL. Real bad.
That made me even more mad because we lost money.
We
lost
everything.
Standings.
We lost streak.
Yeah, that's gonna kill. Like,
it was devastating. And then I was mad at myself for even believing in the Bears after we were just on this show going, ha ha ha, just bet the over. That's all you got to worry about.
Yeah,
they crushed the over.
Yeah, they did.
So anyway, on to Atlanta.
The Ryan Pace revenge game.
And he might get the revenge. I don't know if they're going to win.
I wouldn't put him in streak.
We can't now. I'm so mad. If I want to go into more detail, just for those few UFFL listeners out there, because of that early German game,
yes,
we saw a lot of people's picks.
Yeah.
And so the safer, smarter thing to do is just take the team other people are taking.
Correct.
And then if we had missed, then they missed too.
Right.
But I stuck with what we had, and I was dumb. I don't know. All right.
I mean, we're very...
I'm more mad about this than I was the game now.
Well, I mean, we have morals. Right? Like,
no, you can change.
I know,
it's part of the... But we shouldn't have put our picks out there if we didn't want people to look at them. But Correct. It's new. It's more information, and sometimes having too much information ends up throwing you off too.
That's true. There's been times where I'll make a switch based off of what we do for my pick'em, for what we do for our...
yeah, you got one at work or something?
Yeah, and I just pick them straight up where we have to do like a confidence, right? And assign numbers and stuff. And there's times where I'll flip for that, and it works sometimes, and then sometimes it doesn't. So I mean, it just depends.
70% of the time works every time.
Yeah. I need a teleprompter. I'll read it like a question.
All right. Well, so the game is coming up soon since this is already Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And then we'll shoot another episode, the Devin Hester episode.
I was just saying I'll be around this time because I wasn't around last time, which made it a little more difficult.
You were trying to have a good birthday. The Bears didn't help you out.
No, not at all.
Do you like my spin for the draft pick?
Yeah.
The guy they're going to draft who's going to be a legend.
Yeah.
It's because of the game they lost on your birthday.
I like it.
So, all right, Rob. It's been a good one.
Yeah, bear down.
I like this new studio too.
Yeah.
Hopefully we sound good.